The only thing my husband Richard asked of me as he lay dying was simple, yet haunting. "Sarah, promise me you'll never go to the lake house. Not until you're ready." His fingers trembled in mine, his breath shallow. I promised, though confusion gnawed at me. What lake house? We'd been married 16 years, and he'd never mentioned owning property anywhere but our modest home in Portland. 3 months after the funeral, I sat across from his attorney, Margaret Chen, in her downtown office. The grief was still raw, made worse by the hollow routines of widowhood, sorting through Richard's belongings, fielding condolences, trying to remember how to exist without him. "There's something Richard left for you," Margaret said, sliding an ornate wooden box across her desk. Inside lay a brass key attached to a hand-carved tag that read Willowmere. "It's a property in Cascade Springs. He purchased it 5 years ago and spent considerable time there, though he specified you were only to know about it after his passing." My hands shook as I held the key. 5 years? That's impossible. Where did he get the money? Where was he going all those weekends he said he was consulting in Seattle? Margaret's expression was carefully neutral. "The property came into his possession through unusual circumstances. Richard left video recordings explaining everything. There at the house, waiting for you." I drove to Cascade Springs the next morning, my daughter Emma insisting on coming along. At 23, she'd taken her father's death harder than she'd admit, channeling grief into fierce protectiveness of me. As we wound through pine forests toward the address Margaret provided, neither of us spoke much. The house appeared suddenly through the trees, a stunning craftsman structure with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a pristine lake. The landscaping was immaculate, the gardens bursting with late summer blooms. This wasn't some forgotten cabin. This was someone's sanctuary, meticulously maintained. "Dad owned this," Emma breathed as we parked. "How is that possible?" The key turned smoothly in the lock. Inside, sunlight flooded a great room with exposed beams and a massive stone fireplace. But what stopped me cold wasn't the architecture, it was the photographs. Hundreds of them covering every wall. Images of me throughout our marriage, laughing at our wedding, pregnant with Emma, teaching my photography class, lost in thought while reading. A gallery dedicated to moments I'd forgotten, preserved by someone who'd been watching, remembering, treasuring. On the dining table sat a laptop with a note in Richard's handwriting. "Press play, my love. Password, December 1998 Sarah, the month we met, followed by my name." Emma found the note first. "Mom, I think we should watch this together." The video opened on Richard, healthy and vibrant, sitting in this very room. "Hello, Sarah. If you're watching this, I'm gone, and you've finally come to Willowmere despite my asking you not to. I should have known you'd need answers." His smile was the crooked one I'd fallen for decades ago. 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with early-onset Alzheimer's. The doctors gave me 5 to 7 years before significant decline. I chose not to tell you or Emma because I didn't want our remaining time defined by the disease. The air left my lungs. Emma grabbed my hand, her face pale. "I knew I needed to create something that would outlast my memory," Richard continued. "Something that would preserve what mattered most, our story, your passion, our family, so I came here." He explained how he'd inherited the property from a reclusive uncle neither of us knew about. The uncle had left it to Richard on the condition he never sell it, only transform it. Richard had spent every spare moment renovating, building, creating a space filled with the things I loved: photography, art, nature, beauty. In the studio upstairs, you'll find equipment better than anything at the college. In the library, first editions of every book you've ever loved. The darkroom has everything you need to return to film photography, the craft you abandoned when Emma was born and money was tight. Tears blurred my vision. Richard had always supported my teaching, never complaining when I gave up my own artistic practice to provide stable income for our family. "But that's not why I kept this secret," Richard said, his expression growing serious. "There's someone else you need to know about, someone who's going to complicate everything." The video ended abruptly. Emma and I stared at the frozen screen. "Someone else," Emma whispered. "What does that mean?" Before I could respond, we heard a vehicle approaching. Through the window, I watched a sleek BMW pull up, and a man in his 50s stepped out, tall, silver-haired, moving with the confidence of someone who belonged here. He knocked firmly. When I opened the door, his expression shifted from determination to surprise. "You must be Sarah. I'm Robert Thorne, Richard's business partner." Richard was an engineer, I said carefully. He didn't have a business partner. Robert's smile didn't reach his eyes. "That's what he told you. In reality, Richard and I co-founded a tech startup 7 years ago. We developed predictive AI algorithms for medical diagnostics. The company's now worth $40 million, and this property is listed as a corporate asset. I'm here to discuss the transfer of Richard's shares and, unfortunately, the liquidation of non-essential holdings, including Willowmere." My mind reeled. Tech startup, 40 million. That's impossible. We lived on my professor's salary and his modest engineering income. There was never any. "Richard insisted on maintaining your lifestyle exactly as it was," Robert interrupted. "He said you valued stability over luxury, and he didn't want wealth to change the authenticity of your relationship. Every dollar from the company went into a trust for Emma's future and into this place." He gestured at the house. "His obsession project." Obsession. "He spent every free moment here for 4 years. I thought it was eccentric but harmless until his behavior became erratic. The Alzheimer's made him paranoid, convinced I was trying to steal the company. He changed locks, moved files, left cryptic warnings." Robert's expression hardened. "Before he died, he restructured everything to freeze me out. I need to resolve this legally, which means proving Richard wasn't of sound mind when he made those changes." Emma stepped forward. "You're saying my father was crazy." "I'm saying he was sick and made decisions that hurt everyone, including himself. There are 12 more video messages on that laptop, each more delusional than the last. Richard believed I was dangerous, that I'd come here to destroy what he built. The tragedy is that I only want what's legally mine." After Robert left, with lawyers' numbers exchanged and thinly veiled threats issued, Emma and I watched the second video. Richard appeared in what looked like the basement, his expression haunted. "If Robert's already there, you know his version of events. Here's the truth. Our company's algorithm works too well. It predicts patient outcomes with 93% accuracy, including terminal diagnoses. Robert wants to sell the technology to insurance companies who will use it to deny coverage. I've been blocking the sale, which is why he's been systematically trying to have me declared incompetent." He leaned closer to the camera. "Everything I've built here, the documentation, the evidence, the backup files, it's all to protect you and Emma. In the safe behind the bookshelf, combination 1,221,998, you'll find proof of Robert's real intentions and the legal documents ensuring the company can't be sold without your approval. You're now the majority shareholder, Sarah. The decision is yours." Emma and I found the safe exactly where Richard described. Inside were contracts, emails, corporate documents, and a thumb drive labeled for Margaret Chen Evidence Asterisk. Over the next week, the situation escalated. Robert filed legal challenges claiming Richard's Alzheimer's invalidated his final wishes. He produced medical records, expert testimony, even character witnesses describing Richard's increasingly paranoid behavior. But as Margaret reviewed the evidence Richard left behind, a different picture emerged. Robert had indeed been positioning for a sale, courting insurance executives, preparing presentations that explicitly outlined how the AI could be used to maximize profits by identifying and dropping high-risk patients. "This is extraordinary," Margaret said, reviewing documents in Richard's study. A room I discovered contained 5 years of meticulous record-keeping. Richard was building a legal fortress while his own memory was failing. Some of these documents are dated from just weeks before he died, yet they're perfectly organized, internally consistent, legally airtight. "Could he really have done this while dealing with Alzheimer's?" I asked. "The disease affects people differently," Margaret replied. "Some maintain certain cognitive abilities even as others decline. But honestly, this level of strategic thinking, this attention to detail—" She shook her head in wonder. "Your husband was extraordinary." The final video, labeled "When You Understand," showed Richard in the garden at sunset, the lake golden behind him. "Sarah, my beautiful Sarah, if you've made it this far, you've met Robert, you've seen his true nature, and you've found the evidence. Now comes the hard part, deciding what to do with it." He picked up a stone from the garden path, turning it over in his hands. "I built this place because I knew my mind would betray me. I needed something permanent, something that would hold the truth when I could no longer remember it myself. But I also built it because you deserve beauty. You've spent our whole marriage putting others first. Your students, Emma, me. This is your space to finally be selfish, to create, to remember who you were before life demanded you be practical." His eyes glistened. "The company, the legal battle, Robert's betrayal, those are just obstacles. The real inheritance is permission. Permission to choose yourself, to protect what matters, to build the life you've always deserved but never claimed." The video ended, but I sat motionless, Richard's words settling into my bones. The legal battle took 6 months. Robert fought viciously, but Richard's documentation was irrefutable. In the end, a judge ruled in our favor. The company couldn't be sold without my consent. Richard's final wishes stood, and Willowmere remained mine. Robert disappeared after the ruling, his reputation in the tech world permanently damaged by the revelations of his predatory business practices. Emma returned to graduate school, but she visits Willowmere often, swimming in the lake, reading in the library her father built. She's healing, slowly learning to remember him not as the man who kept secrets, but as the father who protected us even as his own mind crumbled. As for me, I've returned to photography. The studio Richard created is perfect: northern light, professional equipment, space to finally pursue the art I abandoned 25 years ago. My first exhibition opens next month at a gallery in Portland, a series titled Asterisk Inheritances, portraits of ordinary objects Richard left behind, each one revealing extraordinary love. Sometimes, walking through Willowmere at dusk, I feel Richard's presence. Not haunting, but companionable, the ghost of a man who spent his final years building a fortress of love around the people he'd leave behind. The house he asked me never to visit became the home where I found myself again. The secret he kept transformed into the truth that set me free. And the promise he asked me to make, to stay away until I was ready, became the gift I needed most. Permission to stop being afraid and start being fully alive. Legacy, I've learned, isn't what we leave behind. It's what we build forward, one brave choice at a time. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed it, I'd love to hear which part resonated most with you in the comments below. Your support means everything, and I'll see you in the next one.